Hello, and welcome to Sleepy Science Story. This is your time to slow down, to let the world soften at the edges, and to drift somewhere quieter for a while. Tonight, we're going to wander gently through something that might be too big to ever fully imagine the true size of the universe. It's a subject so vast it stretches not only space, but the mind. But don't worry, we'll take it slowly, like following starlight across still water. I do hope this story isn't too interesting, but if it is, at least you'll fall asleep full of galaxies. And if these calm science stories bring you peace, a soft like, a tap on subscribe, and a comment sharing where you're listening from would mean more than you know. Let's begin with something familiar: the sky. We see it every day, or at least parts of it. Sometimes it's blue and warm, sometimes pale and cloudy, sometimes dark and filled with the quiet shimmer of stars. On clear nights, we may even look up and wonder just how far it stretches. But even then, even with all our curiosity and all our telescopes, and all the light our eyes can gather, we're only seeing the tiniest part of something much, much bigger. The sky is not a ceiling. It isn't a shell wrapped around the earth. It's more like the first page of a book whose story keeps going, page after page, well beyond what we've read. And that story, the one written in starlight and gravity and unimaginable distance, is the one we're about to gently drift into. For most of human history, the stars were just dots, scattered across the sky like glitter on black velvet. People imagined they were fixed in place, tiny lanterns hung above the world. We named them, grouped them, made stories out of their shapes. And for a long time, that was the edge of it. The sky was big, but it wasn't yet a universe. Then came the telescopes. And slowly, gently, our picture began to stretch. Those dots weren't lanterns at all. Many of them weren't. Even stars. Some were whole galaxies, vast collections of billions of stars, swirling like petals on a black breeze. Suddenly, the sky wasn't just the sky anymore. It was a window. A deep, dark window into something so large that it couldn't be held in a single image or thought. But still, even with our instruments and our models and our quiet, careful measurements, we're only seeing part of the picture. When we look into space, we're also looking back in time. Light doesn't arrive instantly. It takes time to travel. That means every distant galaxy we see is a snapshot of how it once was, not how it is now. Even the nearest stars are old stories, already told. The farther we look, the older the story becomes, and eventually we reach a soft boundary, not made of walls, but of time. A distance beyond which the light hasn't had time to reach us yet. That boundary is called the observable universe. It's the part of the cosmos we can see, not because it's all that exists, but because it's all that's reached us so far. So, when we say the sky, we're really only speaking of a single slice of something much larger, a flicker of a much older flame, a breeze from a wind that started blowing billions of years ago. It's enough to make you feel small, but in the quietest, most comforting way. Because somehow, even in all that vastness, you're still here, thinking about it, wrapped in a warm bed while galaxies drift quietly in the dark beyond. You're part of the sky's story too. A soft thought nestled gently in a universe too big to end. Let's drift a little closer to home, to the places where most of us live, where the stars are shy and the night sky is often hidden behind a soft orange haze. City lights reach up like curious fingers, trying to touch the stars but only managing to blur them. Street lamps and billboards, glowing windows and headlights, all of them send their brightness upward, gently washing the sky until only the brightest stars remain. For many people, this is the sky they know. A few twinkles above tall buildings, maybe a soft glow from the moon, and the occasional flicker of something passing by. It feels like the sky has grown smaller, not because the universe has changed, but because our view has. And yet, hidden behind that veil of light and motion, the real sky remains, vast and unchanged. If you were to step away from the city, just a little, maybe into a quiet field or a dark hillside, you would begin to see what's been there all along. The stars return, quietly, without fanfare. First a few, then a scatter, and then an overwhelming spill of light that looks like powdered sugar on velvet. The Milky Way arches overhead, not as a concept or a name from a book, but as something real and present and enormous. It reminds you that the sky isn't gone, only obscured. The universe hasn't grown smaller. It has only been patiently waiting behind our distractions. And when the stars come back into view, something else happens. Perspective begins to shift. In the city, distances are defined by blocks, by streets, by the reach of headlights or the edge of a building. But out under the open sky, the distances stretch. You can feel it in your chest, in your breath, in the stillness. Those tiny lights are not tiny at all. They are suns, far away, separated from us not by miles or hours, but by years of light. It takes time for their brightness to reach us. Even the softest glow from the nearest star is a journey. When you see it twinkling, you are seeing a memory, a flicker from the past gently arriving in your present. This quiet return of the stars reminds us of something easy to forget. The universe is not far. It is not separate from us. It surrounds us, even when we cannot see it. We live within it, not beneath it. The sky is not just above the rooftops. It is all around, stretching in every direction, even under your feet. You are floating inside it, gently, the same. The way a leaf floats in a still lake, so the next time the stars seem distant, or the sky seems small, remember that it hasn't gone anywhere. The cosmos does not vanish when we forget to look. It remains, vast and quiet, holding more than we can ever see. And just maybe, when the lights go out and the night grows still, it will come back to you star by star until the sky feels infinite once more. Let's drift a little farther now, beyond the soft veil of Earth's atmosphere, past the twinkling stars and the cozy glow of the Milky Way. Out there, in the deep black beyond our sky, lies a mystery that feels both simple and impossibly vast. It begins with a question so gentle, so often asked, that we barely notice how strange it really island. How far can we see? And just as naturally, what lies beyond that? When astronomers speak of the universe, they often mention something called the observable universe. It sounds technical, maybe even limiting, but all it really means is the part of the cosmos we can see from here. Not with the naked eye, not even just with telescopes, but with the help of all the light that has had time to reach us since the very beginning. Because light, for all its speed, travels at a pace. And the universe is old. When you look into deep space, you are not seeing a place. You are seeing a time. The farther away a galaxy is, the longer its light has taken to arrive. When we see a distant galaxy glowing faintly in the dark, we're not seeing it as it is now. We're seeing it as it was millions or even billions of years ago. It's like watching a sunrise that happened yesterday. The further you look, the deeper into history you drift. The sky becomes not just a map of space, but a tapestry of time, stitched together from ancient light. At the very edge of this view is something soft and strange, a place where the light itself begins to fade into silence. It's not a wall, not a boundary in any traditional sense, but more like a horizon. The light from beyond simply hasn't had time to reach us yet. The universe may stretch far beyond that point, maybe forever, but the light from those distant places is still on its way. And until it arrives, we can only imagine what lies beyond. That means the observable universe is not a complete picture. It's a glowing bubble, about 93 billion light-years across, centered not on Earth exactly, but on the point from which we are observing. Every place in the cosmos has its own observable bubble, because light travels the same way everywhere. The universe is not centered around us. It only looks that way because this is where we are standing. And even this bubble, this visible portion, is filled with wonders. Galaxies swirl like frozen whirlpools. Light from the early universe whispers through the microwave background, a faint echo from when everything was still forming. It is a reminder that what we see is just the faintest shimmer of what exists. So when you look into the night sky, remember that you're not just looking out, you're looking back, and beyond that light, beyond the edge of what we can see, the universe continues, quietly, patiently, waiting to be discovered. Now let's float gently to the edge of everything we can see, to a place where the light grows tired and time itself begins to blur. This is the cosmic horizon. It isn't made of stone or stars or anything solid at all. It's not a wall or a fence, and you wouldn't feel it if you crossed it. In fact, it's not really a place you can travel to. It's more like the limit of what light has shown us so far. It is the farthest distance from which anything could have reached us since the beginning of time. Imagine standing on a hill on a misty morning. The landscape around you is quiet and soft, but beyond a certain point, everything disappears into haze. You know, the world continues beyond the fog, trees still stand, birds still fly, but from where you are, you cannot see them. Not because they're not real, but because the light they reflect hasn't reached your eyes. That's what the cosmic horizon is like. It's not the edge of the universe, it's the edge of our vision. And just like the mist lifts with the sun, our cosmic horizon expands with time. Every second that passes, light from farther away has time to reach us. So the observable universe grows, not because new things are being created inside it, but because more of what already exists becomes visible. The universe itself may be infinite, or it may curve back on itself in ways we can't yet picture, but either way, the cosmic horizon gives us a bubble of understanding, a glimpse. Within this bubble, we've seen galaxies of every shape and size. We've watched stars form and die. We've measured the faint hum left over from the beginning, a soft glow known as the cosmic microwave background. That quiet signal is the farthest thing we've ever seen, a whisper from nearly 14 billion years ago, still echoing through the dark. But beyond that, the universe goes quiet. Not because it ends, but because we simply haven't heard from it yet. The light from those regions hasn't had enough time to reach us. And because the universe is expanding, those distant places may be moving away faster than light can travel. Not because they are breaking the rules, but because space itself is stretching between us and them. Like dots on an inflating balloon, they grow farther apart, not by speed, but by the gentle expansion of the surface they sit on. So the cosmic horizon is not a hard edge, it's a soft, moving limit. A shifting boundary between what we've discovered and what is still hidden. And just as sailors once stared into the ocean and imagined dragons beyond the map, we now gaze into deep space and wonder what lies past that horizon, not in fear, but in peace. Because the mystery is part of the beauty, the edge of what we know is never the end, it is always the beginning of something more. Let's take a quiet moment to think about what it really means to look at the stars. Not just to notice them or admire their glow, but to understand what is actually happening when their light reaches our eyes. Every twinkle in the night sky, every faint glow from a distant galaxy, is a message sent long ago. The stars are not just up there, They are back there too, resting in the past. Their light has traveled across the great dark sea of space, moving at the fastest speed nature allows, just to arrive at this exact moment in your quiet corner of the universe. This means we are always looking backward. A nearby star, one of our closest neighbors, might send us light that's already 4 years old. The light from the center of our galaxy has been traveling for more than 25,000 years, and when we observe galaxies at the edge of our vision, the images we receive are from billions of years ago. That's longer than humans have existed, longer than Earth has held complex life. We are not seeing those galaxies as they are now. We are seeing how they once were, like reading a letter from an old friend who sent it long before you were born. In a way, the sky is a time machine. Every photon, every particle of light that reaches us, carries with it the imprint of a moment long gone. Some of those moments were quiet, like the steady burn of a gentle star. Others were violent, like the death of a sun collapsing into a black hole. But all of them have been preserved in light, moving silently through the vacuum, waiting patiently to be seen. And just as we look back, others could look at us in the same way. If some distant observer lives on a faraway world orbiting a faraway star, and they have a telescope powerful enough, they might see our planet not as it is now, but as it was when the light left it. If they're 100 light years away, they're watching Earth during the early 20th century. If they're 1,000 light years away, they're seeing the world when humans were still telling stories by firelight. Our present is someone else's ancient history. It's a humbling idea, but also a comforting one. The universe remembers everything that gives off light. Nothing disappears entirely. Even the faintest flicker is carried forward through space and time. The stars we see tonight may have burned out long ago, but their glow is still here, still arriving, still part of the story. So when you look up at the night sky, you're not just seeing stars. You're seeing memories. You're holding the past in your gaze, quietly wrapped in the soft blanket of the present. And in that stillness, with the stars watching from across time, you become part of the great unfolding, just another moment of light, drifting slowly into someone else's future. Let's imagine, just for a moment, that we could pause the universe, that everything could freeze in place, not forever, just for one long, quiet breath. The galaxies would stop spinning. The stars would stop shining. Even light itself would hold still, mid-flight across the cosmic ocean. And in that frozen instant, we could take a perfect snapshot. Not of the universe as we see it, but of the universe as it truly is, right now. You see, because light takes time to travel, the view we have of the cosmos is always a little out of date. Not because our tools are broken, but because the universe speaks in delay. Every galaxy we observe is shown to us in the past tense. Some are only millions of years behind, others are billions. It's like attending a concert where every instrument is playing from a different moment in the song. Beautiful, but never quite in sync. So if we could somehow gather all the light that hasn't arrived yet, skip ahead, and see everything as it is in this moment, the universe would look very different. Galaxies that appear small and distant might now be closer and brighter. Others we can't see at all might be shining just beyond our cosmic horizon, waiting for their light to arrive. There could be entire structures stretching across unimaginable distances, like celestial rivers flowing from galaxy to galaxy, hidden simply because their glow hasn't reached us yet. And here's where it becomes even stranger. While we wait for light to travel to us, the universe itself is still expanding. Not just the things in it, but space itself. Imagine a calm balloon slowly inflating. The dots on its surface don't move, but they drift apart because the space between them stretches. That's what's happening with galaxies. They aren't flying through space. Space is growing between them. Because of this, The galaxies we see in the distance are not where they appear to be. By the time their light reaches us, they've moved. Some of them may have drifted so far that we could never reach them, even if we traveled forever. They may be gone already, swallowed by time, or perhaps transformed into something new. But their light, their story, is just now arriving, like a long-lost letter carried by the quietest postman the universe ever knew. All of this means that the true size of the universe in this present moment is far beyond what we can see. It may be hundreds of billions of light years across, or perhaps even endless. And we will never be able to know it all, not because we aren't clever enough, but because the universe is made in such a way that some of its secrets will always remain just out of reach. But maybe that's part of the beauty. The mystery is never fully solved. There's always more beyond the next horizon. And in that stillness, in the gap between what is and what we can see, lies the gentle comfort of wonder, the kind of wonder that tucks you in and keeps you dreaming long after the stars have faded from view. When you look up at the night sky, it's easy to imagine that every point of light is a star, that each one is a distant sun, twinkling just for a moment before your eyes grow heavy with sleep. And some of them are, but not all. There are lights up there that are more than stars. Some of them are entire galaxies, containing billions of stars, all gathered together in a swirl of quiet motion. From where we are, they appear as single flickers, tiny, still, simple. But if you could move closer, if you could glide through space and stand before one, you would see something so vast it would steal your breath. The galaxy is not just a cluster of stars, it is a city of light. Within it are suns and planets, clouds of dust, trails of gas, and perhaps even civilizations, dreaming under skies not unlike your own. And just as our Milky Way holds everything we know, from the warmth of our sun to the pull of our moon, each galaxy holds its own story. Some are young, still forming stars in thick, bright clusters. Others are old and quiet, their light faded to a gentle glow, like embers at the end of a fire. From afar, galaxies come in many shapes. Some spiral like cosmic hurricanes, their arms filled with stars. Others are shaped more like spheres, soft and round. Some seem stretched or tangled, as if caught mid-dance with a neighbor, drawn together by the invisible threads of gravity. These encounters take millions of years, unfolding slowly and silently. Galaxies can pass through one another like ghosts, their stars so far apart that collisions are rare, even in the middle of the chaos. The Milky Way, our own galaxy, is just one of perhaps 2 trillion in the observable universe. That number is almost too large to think about. You could spend your entire life counting galaxies and still not finish. You could pick a single one at random, dive into its heart, and find more stars than there are grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth. And still, that would be just one among billions. What's more, these galaxies are not scattered without reason. They are arranged in patterns, like glowing threads, stretched across the darkness. They form clusters and walls, weaving a structure that resembles a web. Between the threads are empty spaces, vast and quiet, where few galaxies exist. And even these spaces, though empty to our eyes, are part of the story. They give shape to the whole. So next time you catch a glimpse of a faint, faraway light in the sky, remember that it might be more than a star. It might be an entire galaxy, drifting quietly across the night. A place full of suns and silence, of gravity and time. And though it may seem distant, it is part of the same universe that holds you, floating gently, just like you, in the calm dark between the stars. Let's gently turn our attention to the spaces between. Not the stars, not the galaxies, not even the shimmering dust clouds, but the gaps. The dark, quiet stretches where it seems as though nothing exists at all. These are the places most people forget when thinking about the universe. It's natural to focus on what glows and spins and burns. Those are the parts that catch the eye, but in truth, the majority of the universe is not made of light. It is made of space. These in-between places are often called empty, but that isn't quite right. Nothing in the universe is truly empty. Even in the deepest reaches there are whispers of particles, the faint hum of background radiation, the ghost of a light wave long gone. And then there is space itself, not as a blank sheet, but as a living fabric, one that stretches and curves, one that responds to mass and energy, one that grows. Imagine standing alone in a vast meadow at night. No wind, no sound, just open land in all directions. That's what the space between galaxies is like, except on a scale so large it escapes the mind. These dark regions make up most of the volume of the universe. The galaxies, as beautiful as they are like tiny fireflies in a very large room. And yet, without the space around them, they would have nowhere to drift, nowhere to dance, no way to be. Even more strange, these empty-seeming stretches are not just passive backgrounds. They play an active role in shaping everything we see. Gravity stretches across them, quietly pulling galaxies toward one another. Light crosses them, often bent along the way by the subtle warps in space. These regions may appear quiet, but they carry the rhythm of the universe. A slow, steady beat, a silence filled with motion. And then there is the idea that space itself has energy. Something we call dark energy, though the name is mostly a placeholder. It seems to push the universe outward, accelerating its expansion. Not by adding matter, but by working through the fabric of space itself. Like a soft breath inflating a balloon, this force stretches everything farther apart. And it does so evenly, without sound or resistance. The more space there is, the more this quiet energy can act. It is not violent or chaotic, it is gentle and persistent. All of this means that the spaces between are just as important as the things they separate. They are not just gaps, they are part of the structure, part of the mystery. They hold the stars in place, allow galaxies to form, give room for light to travel, and for time to pass. So the next time you look into the night and see only darkness, remember that the dark is not empty. It is deep, it is quiet, and it is full of stories still being written, stories made of space, of silence, and of something far more than nothing. Let's wander now into one of the quietest truths in all of science. The universe is not still. It is not fixed in place like a painting on a wall. It is expanding, slowly, steadily, always. Not because things are moving through space like travelers on a long journey, but because space itself is growing. The fabric of the universe is stretching, gently, the way dough rises in a warm kitchen or the surface of a calm pond spreads outward when touched by a single drop. This idea, first, began to take shape when astronomers noticed something curious about the galaxies they observed. The light from nearly all of them was shifted toward the red end of the spectrum, as though the galaxies were moving away from us. At first, it seemed like we might be at the center of some great cosmic retreat. But the deeper truth was more elegant. The galaxies weren't moving through space. Space was expanding between them. Picture a loaf of raisin bread baking in the oven. As the dough rises, the raisins all move farther apart from one another. None of the raisins are doing the moving, the dough is doing the stretching. In the same way, the galaxies are not racing away from each other through empty space. The space between them is growing, pulling them apart without ever touching them. And the farther apart two galaxies are, the faster they seem to move away from each other. That's because the more space there is between them, the more stretching can occur. It's not about speed in the way we usually think of it, it's about distance and scale. Even though this expansion happens at an almost unimaginably slow pace in any one spot, over the vast distances between galaxies, it adds up. This quiet stretching of space is not something we can feel. It does not affect your body or your home or even your solar system. Gravity holds those things together tightly enough that they are not pulled apart by the expansion. But on the scale of galaxies, the expansion becomes noticeable, and beyond the scale of galaxy clusters it becomes profound. There's something peaceful about this. The idea that the universe isn't racing or spinning out of control, but simply unfolding, like a flower in slow motion, like a breath taken over billions of years. It suggests a kind of rhythm, a cosmic patience, not driven by urgency or need, but by the simple fact that this is how space behaves. And what's even more mysterious is that this expansion is not slowing down. It's speeding up, a quiet acceleration, powered by something we do not yet understand. But even without all the answers, we know this much. The universe is growing, not loudly, not quickly, but with steady purpose. And in that growth, we find the space to wonder, the time to dream, and the comfort of knowing that even the biggest things can begin with the gentlest stretches. Let's take a moment to think about something that almost every map has. A center, a place where the eye naturally settles, a middle from which all things seem to spread. Most of us carry that idea quietly, tucked in our minds, that there must be a center to the universe too, a place where it all began, a spot where everything started and from which it has been growing ever since. But the universe, as it turns out, is not built that way. When we look out into the cosmos, we see galaxies moving away from us. The farther they are, the faster they seem to go. It feels as if we are at the center of something, as if all of space is retreating from our quiet corner. But this is not because we are special. It is not because the universe is expanding away from us in particular. It is because the expansion of the universe happens everywhere, all at once. Imagine a balloon with tiny dots scattered across its surface. As the balloon inflates, every dot moves away from every other dot. There is no single center on the surface of the balloon. The stretching happens evenly in all directions. Each dot feels as though the others are moving away from it, and in a way, they are. The surface expands, and with it, the space between everything grows. Our universe is something like that, not in shape necessarily, but in behavior. No matter where you are in the cosmos, the view looks roughly the same. Galaxies move away in all directions. Every observer, no matter where they stand, sees themselves as surrounded by retreating galaxies. This is one of the most surprising and gentle truths in cosmology. The universe has no center, or, more precisely, every point can be seen as a center, depending on where you are standing. This idea can be strangely comforting. It means we are not above or below anything else. We are not in front or behind. We are simply within, wrapped in the fabric of a universe that is expanding everywhere at once. There is no preferred spot, no single origin point still sitting in the middle. The entire universe carries its beginning within it, evenly spread across time and space. And so, when you look up at the night sky and see galaxies drifting away in every direction, know that the same view could be seen from any of those galaxies too. From their perspective, we are the ones moving. Everyone is moving away from everyone else, not because we are fleeing, but because the space between us is growing. There is something peaceful in this lack of center. It removes the pressure to be at the middle of things. It reminds us that we do not have to be the focus to be part of the story. We are not the center of the universe, but we are inside it, and that is more than enough. Gently carried, quietly expanding, just like everything else. Now let's drift into something stranger still, something that begins not with distance, but with time. We often think of time as steady, 1 second, then another, marching quietly forward. A gentle and predictable rhythm, but in the vast and mysterious shape of the universe, time is not as even as we imagine. It bends, it stretches, and it flows differently depending on where you are and how fast you move. Einstein first told us that time and space are not separate things. They are woven together into what we call space-time. When something heavy, like a planet or a star, presses into this fabric, it bends it. And when space-time bends, time bends with it. A clock sitting near something massive ticks more slowly than one far away, not because the clock is broken, but because time itself is passing more gently. Imagine standing near the edge of a black hole. The gravity there is so strong that time begins to slow. A minute for you might feel like an hour or a day to someone far away. If you could look back at Earth from that place, you would see time racing forward. People growing older, seasons changing, all while your own moments pass like soft breaths in the dark. The same thing happens, though much more subtly, right here on Earth. Your feet, being closer to the center of the planet, experience time just a tiny bit more slowly than your head. The difference is almost impossible to notice, but it is real. Time flows differently across small distances, shaped by the quiet pull of gravity, and speed does something similar. The faster you move through space, the slower time moves for you. If you were to travel through the universe at nearly the speed of light, time would stretch. You could take a journey that feels like an hour to you, while years pass back home. This isn't just science fiction. It is a gentle truth of the universe. One that has been tested and measured in the tiniest particles in the farthest stars. So time, like space, is flexible. It bends with gravity. It stretches with motion. It curves and sways like a ribbon in water. And all of us, each moment of our lives, are carried along this flowing stream, never quite knowing where the faster or slower currents lie, but always moving forward. This idea may sound complicated, but there is something soothing in it too. The universe is not a rigid machine. It is a soft and shifting place, full of subtle changes and quiet surprises. And you, just by being here, are part of that flow. Your heartbeat, your thoughts, your dreams all drift gently through space-time, wrapped in the same fabric that holds galaxies and stars. So the next time a moment feels slow, or time seems to rush ahead, remember that the universe is not keeping strict time. It is swaying, it is flowing, and it is carrying you along as gently as light moves through the dark. Let's float farther now, high above the galaxies and deeper into the quiet pattern of everything. If you could rise above it all and look down on the universe from some impossible distance, you would not see a random scattering of stars or a chaotic mix of galaxies. You would see something far more delicate and unexpected. You would see a web. It is not made of silk or string, but of matter and gravity. A great cosmic web stretches across the visible universe, connecting galaxies and clusters of galaxies in long, faint threads. These threads are not bright like stars, but they hold most of the matter in the universe. They twist and curl through space, forming bridges and knots and empty pockets in between. It is one of the largest known structures in nature, and it grew from something much smaller. Long ago, when the universe was still young and filled mostly with smooth clouds of gas, tiny differences in density began to pull matter together. Gravity, slow and patient, did the rest. Over billions of years, these slight differences turned into strands and filaments, drawing in galaxies and shaping them into patterns we are only just beginning to understand. It is a structure made not by force, but by the gentle tug of gravity stretched across time. Imagine a spider's web covered in morning dew. If you shine a light across it, you can see the threads glow softly in the mist. The cosmic web is like that, only the light comes from galaxies, and the mist is space itself. The strands of the web are made of dark matter, a kind of invisible scaffolding that holds everything together. We cannot see it directly, but we can see how it affects the galaxies around it. It pulls on them, shapes their motion, guides their growth, and between the strands are vast voids, enormous spaces where almost nothing exists. These empty regions can span hundreds of millions of light years. They are not truly empty, but they are quiet. Few galaxies live there. Few. Stars are born. These voids give the web its shape, just as the spaces between branches help define a tree. The contrast between the full and the empty is what makes the structure so striking. When scientists map the universe, they often color the web in blues and purples, showing clusters and filaments like rivers of light. But if you could drift through it in person, it would not be bright. It would be mostly dark, with galaxies shining like scattered lanterns, each one nestled in its place along the great design. There would be no sound, no wind, only the slow pull of gravity and the faint glow of distant stars. This cosmic web reminds us that the universe is not just a place of things, but of patterns. It is not noise, but quiet structure. It is not chaos, but slow, steady balance. And somewhere within that web, in one of the smaller strands, floats our galaxy. Like a tiny light in a vast cathedral, glowing gently in the stillness. Let's drift now into the quietest parts of the universe, the places where almost nothing happens. These are the great cosmic voids, wide, dark spaces between the glowing threads of the cosmic web. From a distance, they look like gaps, as if something is missing. But in truth, these empty spaces are part of the pattern. They shape the universe just as much as the stars do. A void is not a place with no meaning. It is a place of stillness, a place where galaxies are few and far between. These regions can stretch across hundreds of millions of light years. If you were to float into one, it might take you a very long time to find even a single star. There would be no constellations, no bright clusters, just the quiet hum of space itself, carrying the soft echoes of light from galaxies far away. It may sound lonely, but there is something peaceful about these places. In the silence of the voids, the universe feels calm. Time seems to slow. Gravity has less to pull on, so there are fewer changes, no great collisions, no bursts of starlight, just a slow and steady drift, like a feather on a still lake. Scientists have found that these voids are not simply empty. They are part of the way matter has spread itself out since the universe began. Early on, the universe was more or less smooth, but tiny differences in density caused some regions to attract matter, while others lost it. Over time, the matter gathered into filaments and clusters, leaving the voids behind. These dark places are the result of that gentle rearrangement. Even though they appear empty, the voids still hold secrets. They contain thin clouds of gas, rare galaxies that float alone, and traces of dark matter that stretch like ghostly strings across the darkness. Some of the loneliest galaxies in the universe live in these voids, far from their neighbors, drifting through the dark without a nearby cluster to belong to. There is a special kind of beauty in that quiet isolation. A galaxy in a void is not surrounded by the noise of a busy universe. It turns slowly, forms stars quietly, and shines its light into the dark with no one close enough to notice. But we notice. With our telescopes and our curiosity, we can see these places and begin to understand their role in the great design. And perhaps that's what makes the voids so remarkable. They are not just leftover space. They are the soft spaces between the notes. They give shape to the song of the universe. Without them, the structure would collapse, the web would fray, the light would have no contrast. So the next time you imagine the universe, don't picture only the stars and galaxies. Remember the spaces between, the quiet, gentle voids. They may be dark, but they are not forgotten. They are the breath between heartbeats, the pause that gives meaning to the motion, the silence that lets the light be seen. Let's close our eyes for a moment and think about the edge of the visible world, that soft, far-off horizon where the faintest light still reaches us, carrying stories from billions of years ago. We've talked about this boundary before, the edge of the observable universe. But now, let's think about what lies beyond it. Not in theory or with equations, but with wonder. What waits in the places we cannot yet see? The observable universe is limited by time. More precisely, it is limited by how long light has had to travel since the beginning of everything. We can only see the parts of the cosmos whose light has had enough time to reach us. That does not mean those are the only parts that exist. It simply means they are the only ones we have met. Beyond that horizon, the universe may continue on and on. More galaxies, more stars, perhaps even more web-like structures, shaped by gravity, stretched by time, hidden from view. Imagine sailing on a vast ocean with no land in sight. The water goes on in every direction. You can only see as far as the curve of the earth allows, but you know the sea does not end there. You trust that the ocean continues, even though your eyes cannot follow it. That is how scientists feel about the universe beyond the observable edge. They believe it continues, possibly endlessly, shaped by the same rules that govern what we can see. And yet, it is strange to think that some parts of the universe may remain forever hidden, no matter how powerful our telescopes become, no matter how patient we are. Some regions may be so far away that their light will never reach us, even if we wait forever. The universe is expanding, and that expansion carries distant galaxies farther from us with each passing moment. In time, many of the galaxies we see today will slip beyond our view, carried away by the stretching of space. Still, the idea of an unseen universe is not something to fear. It is not an emptiness, but a promise, a quiet reminder that the cosmos is larger than our understanding. That wonder does not stop at the edges of our sight. What lies beyond could be just like what we know, or it could be different in ways we cannot yet imagine. But whatever it is, it exists, quietly, peacefully, far beyond the veil of light. There is comfort in knowing that the universe keeps its secrets, that there are always more stars than we can count, more places than we can visit, more stories than we can hear. The horizon of what we know is soft, not sharp. It invites us to keep dreaming, to look up with curiosity, even when answers do not arrive. So let the unknown stretch out before you like a blanket of stars just beyond your reach. It does not need to be touched to be real. It does not need to be seen to be felt. It is there, waiting, wrapped in silence, filled with light that has not yet arrived. Let's imagine turning slowly in space, looking out in every direction, with no up or down, no edge, and no frame. Just an endless field of stars and galaxies stretching far beyond the reach of thought. No matter where you look, the view is the same. Galaxies scattered evenly, the darkness quiet and smooth, the glow of ancient light resting gently in all directions. This is one of the strangest and most beautiful truths about the universe. It looks the same no matter where you are, no matter which way you look. This evenness is called isotropy. It is a fancy word, but a soft idea. It means there is no preferred direction in the universe. If you were to drift to the other side of the cosmos and look around, the sky would still show you the same gentle spread of stars. This sameness is not boring, it is comforting. It tells us that the universe has no favored places, no special seats, no hidden corners where the rules change. Everything is held in the same balance, spread evenly across the great calm sea of space. And this isn't just something we feel, it is something we have measured. Scientists have looked at the light left over from the early universe, the faint microwave glow that wraps around us like a quiet fog. That glow, which has traveled across time for almost 14 billion years, is nearly identical in every direction. There are tiny ripples, just enough to give rise to stars and galaxies, but overall, the light is smooth, balanced, peaceful. This smoothness suggests that the universe grew from a single event, something we call the Big Bang. But what came out of that moment did not scatter in chaos. It expanded gently, filling space with matter and energy in a way that kept everything connected. It did not explode into emptiness, it unfolded into itself. And because of that, no matter where you go, you are always in the middle of everything. Not because you are at the center, but because there is no center. Every point in the universe is surrounded by space that looks the same. You are part of a grand pattern that does not depend on location. The universe is not arranged around you, but it does include you, fully and completely. There is something deeply soothing in that. You are not lost in space. You are not tucked away in a forgotten corner. You are exactly where you need to be, in a universe that embraces all directions equally. When you lie back and look at the stars, you're looking into a sky that belongs to everyone, everywhere. And so, even in a cosmos that stretches farther than you can imagine, you are never outside of it. You are not on the edge. You are in it, wrapped gently in the same fabric that touches every star, every galaxy, every glowing thread of light, floating in the middle of everywhere, with the universe stretching quietly around you. Let's lean now into one of the softest and most thrilling possibilities in all of science. The idea that the universe may be infinite, not just big, not just larger than we can see, but truly endless. No outer shell, no edge where everything stops, no final wall marking where space runs out, just more. More stars, more galaxies, more quiet dark between them reaching on without end. It is a hard thing to picture. Our minds are used to boundaries. Every room has walls. Every book has a final page. Every journey leads to a place where you stop. But with the universe, those familiar rules may not apply. It may not be like a room at all. It may be like an ocean with no shore, where you can sail forever and still never come to the edge. When we talk about the observable universe, we are really talking about the part of the whole that we can see, the part whose light has had time to reach us. But the universe may go on far beyond that, in all directions, like the land beyond the horizon when you stand on a quiet beach. You cannot see it, but you know it must be there. And if the universe truly is infinite, then that land never ends. There are more galaxies beyond the edge of our sight. More stars being born in clouds of gas we will never witness. More places where time ticks gently forward, just as it does here. What does it mean for something to be infinite? It means that no matter how far you go, there is always more road ahead. You could travel in a straight line forever and never reach a stopping point. There is no outer shell with a label that reads, "The End." And if that's true for space, it may also be true for what it contains. An infinite universe could hold infinite galaxies, infinite stars, infinite planets, and maybe, just maybe, infinite chances for life. Of course, we don't know for sure. The shape and size of the universe are questions still being gently explored. It could be infinite, or it could be very, very large but finite, like the surface of a sphere that loops back on itself. A place where, if you traveled far enough in a straight line, you might return to where you started without ever hitting a wall. That too is strange and beautiful. A universe with no edges, only curves. But whether the universe is endless or simply more vast than we can grasp, the feeling is the same. A sense of openness, a sense of never running out of wonder. You live in a cosmos that may have no dot, edge, no limit, no final breath. A place where mystery is not something to solve, but something to hold close. So, as you close your eyes and drift towards sleep, imagine that quiet infinity wrapping gently around you, a sky that never ends, filled with stars that will shine long after dreams begin. Let's step softly now into a thought that bends the mind in gentle loops. What if the universe, for all its size and silence, is not flat and endless, but curved in ways we can barely imagine? Not like the curve of a hill or the arc of a rainbow, but something deeper. A curve not just through space, but through the very fabric of reality. A shape that holds us all without ever showing an edge. When we look around us, the universe feels flat. Light travels in straight lines. Gravity pulls in predictable ways. If you set off in a direction, everything seems to stretch out before you in a straight path. But just because something seems flat on the surface does not mean it is truly flat. The Earth itself feels flat when you are standing still, yet we know it curves gently beneath our feet. It is the same with the universe. It may only appear flat because we are so small compared to its shape. Some scientists believe the universe might be curved in such a way that if you traveled far enough in one direction, you could end up back where you started. Not by turning or looping, but by following a straight path that slowly bends without your knowing. Like walking across the surface of a giant balloon, you would feel as though you were walking straight, but you would eventually circle the whole thing and return to your starting point. This kind of curvature does not mean the universe is closed off or small. It could still be vast beyond measure, but it suggests a kind of softness to space, a roundness that changes the way light and matter move. It would mean the universe has no edge, not because it goes on forever in a straight line, but because it folds back on itself in quiet grace. And if space can curve, then time might curve with it. Space and time are woven together after all. They are not separate threads but one single fabric. If that fabric bends, then perhaps time does too. Perhaps the past and future are not just behind and ahead, but wrapped around in ways we do not yet understand. We do not feel this curvature in our daily lives. It is too gentle, too stretched across too great a distance, but we search for its signs. We look at how galaxies move, how light bends around massive objects, how the oldest light in the universe spreads across the sky. These clues help us draw the shape of the whole, even if we can never step back far enough to see it fully. So as you lie still and breathe beneath your own curved sky, know that the universe may be cradling you in ways you cannot feel. That space might be gently folding, not with sharp corners or hard lines, but with a slow, endless grace, holding everything in a shape both simple and impossible. A shape that never ends, never begins, and always carries you quietly within it. Let's tiptoe now into a dream that science dares to consider. A dream not just of stars and galaxies, but of other realities entirely. The idea that this universe, as vast and quiet and mysterious as it is, might be only one of many. That beyond the furthest edge of what we know, Beyond even the places we cannot see, there could be other universes, whole other everythings, each with its own rules, its own space, its own time. This idea is called the multiverse, not because we know it exists, but because the math that describes our universe quietly leaves room for others. It is not proof, but possibility. And in the still hours of the night, possibility is more than enough to wonder. One way to picture it is to imagine bubbles. Each universe like ours is a bubble, floating in a much larger sea. Some bubbles are far apart, some drift close together. Each one has its own version of physics, its own ingredients, its own story. In some of these universes, the stars might burn cooler or not at all. In others, gravity could pull harder, or not exist in the way we know it. There could be no light, no matter, or something so strange that even our wildest dreams could not shape it. And yet, some of these universes might look just like ours. Not only in shape and motion, but in content. The math whispers that, in an infinite multiverse, all possible outcomes might happen somewhere. Somewhere, out there, there could be another version of you. Not in a costume or a mirror, but in a separate patch of space, living a slightly different story. Maybe your name is the same. Maybe it is not. Maybe you stayed in one place longer, or took a different turn, or never heard of stars at all. But we do not need to travel to those other places to feel their wonder. Just the thought of them is enough. They give us a way to think about how precious and strange this universe island, how finely balanced its ingredients must be to allow life and stars and thoughts to form. Out of all the possible combinations, somehow we are here, breathing, wondering, dreaming. Some scientists think these other universes could have been born from the same process that gave rise to ours. That as space expanded in those first quiet moments, pockets formed and grew into their own universes, like seeds scattered across a field. Others believe they may be separated not by space, but by dimensions we cannot see, not far away, but folded beside us, like pages in a book pressed gently together. We may never know for sure. The multiverse may remain a story science tells when the numbers stretch too far to end, but it is a soft and curious story, and one that invites peace. Because in all that endless possibility, you still find yourself here, in this quiet corner of one universe, looking up at a sky that already feels infinite. And maybe that is all the proof we need. That we are part of something bigger, even if that something is bigger than anything we can ever know. Let's drift backward now, not in distance, but in time, to the very beginning, to a moment so small and quick that it cannot be pictured, only imagined with care. This was the moment when the universe began to stretch, not with a bang despite the name we've given it, but with something gentler, though no less grand, a silent, sudden blooming, a soft flash of becoming. This was the moment of inflation. In the tiniest fraction of the first second, the universe grew, not from something small into something medium, but from nearly nothing into something enormous. This growth did not happen like a balloon filling with air, and it was not a simple spreading out. It was space itself expanding at a speed far faster than light could travel, not a breaking of rules but a different kind of unfolding. The rules were only just being written. During this brief period of inflation, everything stretched so quickly that any bumps or wrinkles in space were pulled smooth. What had been close became far. What had been one spot became a vast field. The temperature evened out. The forces of nature took shape. It was the start of structure, the first brushstroke on the canvas of everything. We cannot see this moment directly. The light from that time has long since cooled and softened into a quiet whisper, but we can listen to its echo in the background. The faint microwave glow that fills space is one of the oldest things we can observe. And within that glow are tiny patterns, ripples, clues, like fingerprints left on a window. They tell us that inflation may have happened, that the universe, for a brief and silent moment, expanded faster than we can truly grasp. This rapid beginning explains why the universe looks so even, why distant parts of the cosmos seem to match in temperature and shape, even though they could never have shared information or light. Inflation spread everything out before it had time to become. Uneven, it gave the universe a smooth start, and yet it left behind just enough imperfection, tiny differences in density, small seeds that, over billions of years, grew into galaxies and stars and us. Without those tiny bumps, drawn out during inflation, the universe might have remained quiet forever. No stars, no planets, no stories, just cold, smooth space. So this strange, fleeting moment gave birth not only to distance, but to possibility, to complexity, to wonder. It laid the path that light would later follow. It gave gravity a chance to shape. It gave matter a place to rest. And though we may never fully know what caused inflation or what came before it, the idea offers a kind of peace, that everything we see began not with noise, but with a quiet rush, a gentle unfolding, a breath that filled the dark with shape and spark, a moment that still echoes in every corner of space, carried in the light that slowly rocks us to sleep. Let's come home for a while, back from the distant galaxies and the folds of time, back from the endless dark of space. Let's come back to you, to the body you carry, the breath you take, the warm weight of your blanket. It might seem strange to say it, but you are part of the universe too, not just a passenger riding through it, but a piece of it, formed by it, shaped by stars and time and gravity. Every atom in your body has a story older than the earth itself. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your skin, all of it was forged in the hearts of stars. Not the gentle stars that shine quietly in the sky tonight, but ancient stars, now long gone. Stars that lived fast and bright, and died in bursts of light so powerful they sent pieces of themselves across the galaxy. Those pieces drifted and mixed and gathered again, and one day they became you. This is not poetry, it is science. Though it sounds like a lullaby, the atoms that make up your body were born in nuclear furnaces. The stars were their first home, and now they rest in you. Stars made the elements, the earth gave them a place to gather, life gave them form, and now you breathe them in and carry them with you. When you touch your chest and feel your heart beat, you are feeling something that runs on energy first born in the stars. That same process, fusion, is what makes our sun shine. The light that warms your skin during the day is the same kind of light that first shaped the universe. And the energy that moves through your muscles, the signals in your brain, all trace their paths back to those first fires. Even your thoughts are made from stardust. Not in a poetic way, but in the most literal sense. The molecules that form your neurons, the tiny electrical pulses that light up your memories and dreams. They all rely on atoms built long before there were planets or oceans or language. The story of the universe is written inside you, every cell, every breath, every blink. And this means something gentle and profound. You are not separate from the universe. You are not outside it. Looking in, you are inside it. You are made of it. You are as much a part of it as the stars in the sky or the galaxies drifting in the dark. The universe is not a place you visit. It is your home. So as you lie here, resting beneath your roof, wrapped in quiet and comfort, remember that you are also wrapped in something bigger. The stars that gave you shape are still out there, shining. The atoms that formed you are still telling their story, and you, in your own quiet way, are part of that story too. A gentle piece of the cosmos, dreaming under a sky that remembers. Let's rest for a moment in the space between numbers and feelings, in that quiet place where we try to imagine the size of things so far beyond our grasp that the words themselves begin to feel soft around the edges. In astronomy, we speak in light years, in billions, in endless stretches of time and distance. But those numbers, while precise and important, do not always land gently in the mind. They are too big to hold. A light year is the distance that light travels in a single year. That sounds simple at first. Light moves quickly after all, but once you try to picture it, the size becomes slippery. 1 light year is almost 10 trillion kilometers. That is a 1 with 13 zeros after it. It is more space than you or I will ever walk through, more space than Earth itself has room for, and that is just 1 year of travel for a single beam of light. Now imagine 100 light years, 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000. These are the kinds of distances we use when talking about galaxies, about the shape of the universe, about time itself. We say them out loud as if we understand them. But the truth is, the mind does not stretch that far, not easily, not naturally. And that is all right. You do not need to grasp the full weight of 1,000,000,000 light years to feel the wonder they hold. It is enough to know that such distances exist, that they reach out from Earth in every direction, that the stars you see tonight might be only the nearest neighbors in a sea of lights that stretches on and on. The true size of the universe is not just about the numbers, it is about the feeling those numbers leave behind. It is like standing at the edge of the ocean at night. You cannot see where the water ends. You cannot count the waves, but you can feel the size. You can feel it in your chest, in your breath, in the way your thoughts slow down. The universe is the same. Its size is not meant to be measured by memory. It is meant to be felt by wonder. Even the scientists who study the stars and galaxies do not always understand these distances in full. They use tools and formulas. They build maps and models, but many of them still pause now and then to simply look up and feel small, not in a way that takes anything away, but in a way that gives something back. A reminder that we are part of something enormous, something that does not need to be conquered to be loved. So if the size of the universe ever feels too large, too impossible to picture, let that be a comfort. You do not have to carry it all. You only have to rest in it. The universe will stretch around you either way, quiet and patient, full of distances too big to name and beauty too wide to miss. Let's take a quiet step into one of the softest forces in the universe. It does not shout, it does not burn or flash or stir loudly, but it moves everything. It shapes the stars, carries the planets, holds your feet to the floor and keeps the moon in its endless, careful loop. This is gravity. A force so familiar that we rarely stop to notice it, yet so deep and quiet that it reaches across the universe without ever raising its voice. Gravity is what gives weight to things. It is what pulls you gently toward the earth and keeps your body from drifting into the sky. But it is also much more than that. It is the reason the planets circle the sun in smooth, repeating paths. It is the reason galaxies hold their shapes and stars are born in clouds of dust. Gravity is not something that acts from a distance like a hand reaching out. It is the bending of space itself. Einstein showed us that mass tells space how to curve, and space tells mass how to move. Picture a soft sheet stretched out wide, and place a heavy ball in the center. The sheet dips under the weight. Now roll a smaller ball nearby, and it will spiral inward, pulled not by a string but by the curve in the fabric. That is what gravity does. It curves the space around objects. It shapes the paths things take without ever touching them. This gentle pull holds the universe together. Without it, stars would not form, planets would not circle. Oceans would not rise and fall with the moon's steady rhythm. Everything would drift apart, untethered. But gravity is patient. It does not rush. It waits. Over time, its influence becomes impossible to ignore. It gathers dust into stars. It shapes galaxies into spirals. It pulls clusters into groups, and groups into greater webs of light. Even black holes, the darkest and most powerful objects we know, are shaped by gravity. They are places where gravity has grown so strong that space folds inward completely, where not even light can escape. And yet, black holes are not monsters. They are quiet and clean. They form from the remains of stars and sit silently in space, their presence known only by how they move the things around them. On Earth, gravity gives comfort. It holds you as you sleep. It carries the rain down from the clouds and brings the tides to the shore. It reminds you, in the smallest way, that you belong here, that your body is part of something steady, something shared. So when you lie still and feel the weight of the blanket over your chest, think of gravity not as a force pulling you down, but as a soft thread connecting you to the heart of the earth. And from there, to the sun, to the stars, and to the quiet shape of space itself, gravity is the lullaby the universe sings to keep everything close, and you are already wrapped in its arms. Let's return once more to the quiet motion of the universe. We've talked about how space stretches, how galaxies move away from one another, not because they are speeding through space, but because the space between them is growing. But there is something even more curious happening. The expansion is not slowing down, it is speeding up. This discovery surprised even the scientists who found it. They thought the pull of gravity would slow the expansion over time, that like a ball thrown upward, the motion would ease, drift, and maybe even fall back. But instead, something unexpected was happening. The galaxies were moving away faster and faster, as though some invisible hand was gently urging them along. This strange effect has a name. We call it dark energy. No one knows exactly what dark energy island. It does not glow or bend or press. It does not clump like matter or make things spin like gravity. It simply pushes, not in a loud or forceful way, but in a slow, steady drift, like a tide that never turns, a breath that never ends. It seems to be built into space itself. The more space there is, the more this quiet energy can do. And as the universe grows, there is more room for dark energy to stretch it even faster. This creates a kind of gentle loop. Expansion creates more space allows more expansion, and on it goes. You cannot feel this expansion. It does not pull at your skin or stretch your home. The Earth, the solar system, even galaxies are held together too tightly by gravity. But between galaxies, where space is wide and free, the effect becomes clear. The stars move apart. The light takes longer to reach us. The night sky, over a very long time, will grow quieter. One day, in the far future, galaxies beyond our own may slip so far away that their light will never reach us again. Not because they are gone, but because the space between has stretched too far. The sky might grow dark except for the stars in our local group. The universe will still be full, but to those who come after us, it may appear almost empty. But there is something peaceful in this idea too, that we live in a moment of clarity, a time when the sky still tells its story, when light from faraway galaxies still reaches our eyes, when we can look out and see the shape of the universe as it was, and as it is becoming. So as you rest now, think of the galaxies quietly drifting apart, not in chaos but in rhythm, not fleeing but floating, moved by something we do not yet understand, something that does not shout but whispers through the very shape of space. The universe is not just growing, it is becoming. And you are here for this brief and beautiful moment, watching the stars before they fade from view. Let's pause with that gentle mystery for a while. The universe is expanding, and not just expanding, but doing so more quickly over time. The galaxies are drifting apart, their light stretching as they go, and the space between them grows wider and quieter. The question that follows is soft but persistent. What is doing this? What is pushing everything apart? Scientists call it dark energy, not because it is dark like the night or shadows, but because it is unknown, a name given to something we can measure but cannot see. A placeholder for a quiet influence that shapes the future of everything. It is not energy in the way you feel heat or see light. It does not flicker or glow. It does not spin or weigh or gather. It simply fills space. All of space. Even the parts that seem empty. Wherever space exists, dark energy is there. Not causing things to move faster in the usual way, but causing space itself to stretch. The more space there is, the more this effect grows. Unlike gravity, which weakens with distance, dark energy seems to stay steady. Its presence builds, quietly and evenly, like a soft wind that never stops blowing. No one is sure what it is made of, or if it is a thing at all. Some believe it could be a property of space itself, a kind of pressure built into the structure of the universe. Others think it might be something even stranger, a field we have not yet discovered, moving silently through the cosmos. There are theories and models, numbers and clues, but no firm answers. And perhaps that is part of its charm. This quiet force does not disrupt your world. It does not change your morning or pull at your bones. You live within it, gently. Like a fish in calm water, you move through space while the sea of reality stretches slowly around you. If you were to try and measure the change, you would need a ruler longer than galaxies and a clock that ticks over billions of years. But it is there, steady as breath. Dark energy is not dangerous. It is not a force to fear. It is simply a presence that shapes the large-scale structure of the first cosmos. Without it, the universe might have collapsed long ago, drawn inward by the gravity of all it contains. Instead, it is opening, quietly, slowly, continuously. So when you lie beneath the stars and wonder what the universe is made of, know that part of it is something we do not yet understand, and that is beautiful. The unknown still lives in the sky. Not in loud questions, but in soft ones. Not in chaos, but in balance. Let that be a comfort. The universe is still writing its story, still turning unseen pages, still stretching towards something vast. And you are part of that story, resting now in the quiet, while space carries on with its slow and endless dance. Let's finish where we began, not with numbers or distances, but with wonder. After all the stars and galaxies, the timelines and theories, the invisible forces and bending space, there is something else that remains. Something that is not made of matter or light, but lives in the mind. Wonder is its own kind of measure. It does not shrink when the universe grows. It expands with it, gently keeping pace, like a thought that never quite ends. Perhaps the true size of the universe is not written in light years or equations. Perhaps it is written in the way your heart feels when you look up at the night sky and fall quiet without meaning to. when your eyes follow a distant point of light and your thoughts drift far beyond it. In that stillness, something shifts. The world feels bigger and somehow softer too. You could fill a book with all the facts we know. You could trace the edge of the observable universe and calculate how far light has traveled since the first moment of time. You could explain inflation, gravity, curvature, and the strange push of dark energy. And still, you would not be able to contain it, not the whole of it, not what it feels like to be part of something so vast and mysterious that it makes you feel both small and infinite at the same time. And that is the gift. You do not need to solve the universe. You only need to listen to it, to rest in it, to let it carry you for a while, the way it carries everything else, quietly, without asking anything in return. The stars do not hurry. The galaxies do not race. The universe does not demand to be understood in order to be loved. Maybe that is the most beautiful part. That you are here, in this place, with these thoughts. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are not outside looking in. You are inside it. You are made of it. You are a part of the wonder. A soft and temporary piece of a story that has no end. So the next time you feel the world pressing in, or the night seems heavy, or the questions feel too big, just look up. Remember that the sky is not above you, it is around you. That the stars are not distant decorations, they are kin. That you, right now, are exactly where you belong. Not by chance, but by the same quiet unfolding that shaped everything else. And when you close your eyes tonight, let the size of the universe wrap around you, not as something to fear, but as something to rest in, a lullaby of starlight and time, a blanket of questions with no sharp edges, a dream that never ends. Let wonder be your measure. Let stillness be your guide, and let sleep carry you gently into the deepest sky you can imagine. So as you lie back and let your thoughts drift, remember the universe may be too big to hold in your head, but it's never too big to hold in your heart. You are part of it, not separate from it, made of its stars and carried by its rhythm. Whether it's infinite or not, curved or flat, quiet or expanding, the cosmos cradles you just the same. Sleep well, and may your dreams be full of distant galaxies, quiet light, and the peaceful wonder of how small and beautiful we are inside something so very, very large.